Starting again at 46. That's where I find myself once again. 2 weeks ago, I lost my job, and it's the second time it's happened in 2 years. So the question is, what the hell do I do now? So if you haven't watched me before, my name's Carl, and I like to talk about sort of life in your 40s and onwards and how we sort of build that next chapter, because I think things change when you hit your 40s. So to give a bit of background, I've worked in aviation for roughly about 30 years now, which is scary when you say it like that. I started off, I didn't go to uni. I left school at 16 and had a job cleaning aircraft for a living, which is basically kind of the entry role. Over the years, I progressed into operational roles, and then end up my last sort of proper job, as I like to call it, which ended in 2024. I was commercial manager for a small charter operator, which I really enjoyed. And I was there for about 3 years. And I lost that, say, in August. I had some garden leave, but it then took me over a year to find something else. And just to be clear, I wasn't just sitting on my hands. I applied for everything. I think I made over 120 applications to different things. And that was everything from working for other operators, for other airlines, and also things like, driving for sort of some of the supermarkets. I think the post office at one point I applied for. And also I looked at doing sort of career changes. I looked at those sort of, people say to look at your transferable skills. So I looked at all that and tried to sort of change into a different industry. Out of those 120 applications, I got back 3 interviews. That was it. And all 3 of those were in aviation. One of them, I went through 3 stages of interviews, only to get ghosted, never heard back from them, which was pleasant. The second one, I think it was just 1 interview from memory, and again, nothing heard back whatsoever. And then the third one, I had the interview early in the year. I heard nothing. I think it was from about April time, right the way through till the summer, where they finally come back to me and offer me the job starting in the 1st of October last year. All the career change stuff that I tried, and all the other industries, even jobs that kind of I thought would just keep me ticking over, I could not get a look in. As much as I tried, I could not get a look in. So I was kind of forced to stay in aviation and take this job that I was offered, which was by no means ideal. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So that was last year. That was in 2025. And I managed to find something after a year. 2026, been an interesting year so far. And let's just say aviation, it doesn't take a scientist to work out, is struggling at the minute. All I'm getting back at the moment is we're on a recruitment freeze, or we're not hiring, or we're cutting back, redundancies, because obviously what's going on in the Middle East. And by the looks of things, even if that recovered tomorrow, it's going to damage the industry for a little while. This is probably close to a similar level to COVID. If we're not there yet, it's probably not going to be long before we are. So the chances of me now getting a job in aviation are looking pretty bloody slim, to say the least. So I think I'm in for a little bit of a rough ride over the next few months. So going back to that last job, when I took it, it was kind of a step backwards. But after a year of trying to find stuff, it was the only thing I could seem to get. So I took it and thought, well, at least it kind of keeps the walls from the door. Now, things started off okay. It was fine. It was what it was. And for the first couple of months, things seemed to be settling down. Then come December, things started to change. I can't really go into the full detail at the moment, but I wasn't able to really do my job properly because of lack of resource. Let's put it like that. But I was told this will sort itself out in the new year, which it's kind of settled me down. I thought, okay, I've just got to get through Christmas and things will settle down again and we'll be okay. We then went into January and the thing that was meant to change didn't change. And then what I noticed is my role started to change. And the targets I had were sort of based on this different kind of role. And it was a role where I had very little experience in. my experience was in the stuff that I was taken on for, but the role changed and I tried to make it work. Now, to give you an idea, when you speak to people in the same industry, the stuff I was doing, they say to me, it takes about 18 months to settle down into that kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, I'm in this for the kind of the long game. And then mid-February, so 6 weeks from the end of my probation, I had a meeting with the boss and I was told I'm not performing. We had a conversation. I said to him, obviously, about the sort of change in the dynamics. He kind of agreed with me and said, we'll see how we get on. So I had 6 weeks to basically turn things around. Again, when I spoke to people that's in other similar roles, they all told me that's a bit of a steep curve to try and achieve. Over that 6 weeks, things deteriorated quite quickly. You could see it wasn't going to work out. I had rumblings of potentially someone else starting, and just the vibe of it, I just knew this wasn't going to last. And then sure enough, 2 weeks ago, a meeting in the calendar to go up to where the office is. I was there for 15 minutes before getting escorted out of the building. That was it, done. 1 week's notice, done. So that now means I'm back to square one. So last time I made a bit of a mistake, and this time round I'm going to play it different. So the last time it happened for that year, I wasted my entire, well, not wasted, but I spent my entire day looking for jobs. Those applications I sent off, for those 120 applications, it may be more, I can't remember, there were hours spent searching, spent on LinkedIn, all the job websites, all the company websites, absolutely hours wasted. And the truth is, all that time, it didn't make you feel good about yourself. If anything, you spent hours doing it and feel like absolute crap when you finished a day doing it. Now, those that maybe have watched me before, I've mentioned before, I've got a small business. Now, ironically, it's coaching people in their sort of 40s to build that next chapter after their job loss and stuff. And had I just spent half that time last time working on that, as opposed to wasting my time job hunting, just splitting that time even, I wonder where I'd be today. My side hustle's brilliant. I love it. I love what I do. However, it doesn't pay enough of the bills yet. Now, had I spent more time on it, I'd probably be in a very, very different situation now. But we are where we are. So this time round, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm not going to rely on someone else to dictate how my future plays out. There feels like a lot more control if I take the rudder a little bit and steer it into the direction I want to go. So the way I see it, there's two kind of channels. Channel one is kind of looking for work. I'm going to do this in a more focused way. I'm going to go for the stuff that my CV actually suits. I might try a few career changes, like in a sense of industry changes, to see what happens. But I'm not putting all my eggs into that basket. I'll spend some time each day doing that, but in a focused way. The other thing I've learned is I'm not particularly tech savvy, but I've been playing with AI, and I found a way of getting ChatGPT to search job boards for me and come back with stuff that kind of suits me locally to either where I live or nearby, and that's quite useful. That's probably where AI is quite useful. And so I'm not a tech savvy, so if I can do it, other people can too. So that's channel one. Channel two is growing my own thing. If I just put some of this time and energy into my own business, what could happen? Now, there's a lot of fear there because nothing might happen, but I also think that's a bit unrealistic. Let's say it takes me 6 months to find something else, which I think is realistic. If I've spent 6 months on my own business, even as a side hustle, when I go into something else, it's going to be a lot more viable. and there's going to be a lot more security there if something was to go wrong again. So that's probably the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that it works out, and in 6 months' time, I've got a thriving business and I don't need a job anymore. That's the dream, and that's the bit I want to get to. So let's talk about financial runway. I've got some savings in the bank, and I think if I pull my belt in really hard and cut out all the kind of unnecessary spending, I can eke that out to maybe 4 months. If I can get a little bit of casual work or just some cash in, got a few ideas, I reckon I can get that out to 6 months. So I've got a little bit of breathing space. Now, I'm only human, and I'm not going to lie, there are nights where I'll wake up in the middle of the night really worried about stuff, about what's going to happen. And if I put my brain too far forward, if I go through to 6 months' time, that's where panic can set in. So what I try to do is I try to stay grounded. I try to look at each day as its own thing. And if I stay in today and just do the things that I need to do, I can find an element of calm there. But I wanted to share, because I think it's important to be human, that I'm not, I'm a normal bloke. I am worried about providing for my family, and I'm worried about what's next. So just to share that piece to say, if you're in the same boat, I hear you, it's bloody scary. So that's the plan for the next 6 months. I'm going to share the journey, warts and all. So I'm going to share the journey. I'm going to show what works, what doesn't work, the stresses, the breakthroughs. I'm going to share everything that I learn along the way. And if you're going through something similar or you resonate, please subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to really help a bloke out, please hit sort of like. And if you are in a similar place right now and this resonates, comment down below and let us know what your story is. It'd be really good to know I'm not my own here, and other people are sort of managing the same stuff and what you're doing. It'd be really good to know that. Anyhow, I'll leave it there for now. My plan is to do this weekly. I might try to squeeze a few more to try and get out the wind a little bit. So my plan is to try and do this weekly again, and try and commit to it, and we'll see how we get on. So if you've got this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.